So as a blacksmith, bladesmith, I do all sorts of stuff with metal. I make all the tools that I use for blacksmithing, hammers. I make knives, axes, ornamental iron. I do handrails. There's a whole array of stuff that you can do with the blacksmithing. Some metals work, some metals don't. There's a lot of metallurgy involved in blacksmithing. If you're just doing ornamental ironwork, just plain low carbon steel works fine. But when you're doing bladesmithing or making tools, there are other alloys for, say, edge retention in your blades, toughness in tools, and so you really got to pay attention to the metals you're using. There are some dangerous metals. Anything galvanized in your forge can potentially kill you. So yeah, you have to pay attention. Funny story. My dad and I were, we went downstate for something. I don't remember exactly what. We were coming back up, and there's a place in Grayling, Michigan called Hartwick Pines. And it's just a big state campground, forest type deal. And we seen a sign that said event. And my dad's like, you want to stop and see it? And we had no clue what was going on. So I'm like, well, we ain't got nothing else to do. Let's check it out. So we stop, and it's kind of a cool place because where you park, you walk through this, it's a very big old growth forest. So there's just giant pine trees. So you're walking through these 200, 300-year-old trees, and they have a little paved path. And so we're walking through it, and it's about a quarter mile to get to where you're going. And you come up over this hill, and you could hear all this tinging, ping, ping, ping. You could hear the hammers hitting the anvil. Didn't really know what that was at that point in time. And we're like, wow, what's going on, you know? So we get down there, and there was probably 50 blacksmiths all doing their thing. And so we went down there, and I was watching them and just amazed. And so I went right home and started researching and started getting into blacksmithing. Tools in order to blacksmith. To start out, a good anvil and a hammer and a forge. That's pretty much all you need. And then the rest of the tools you can make as you go. Something as simple as this this S-hook, 5-10 minutes if you're an experienced smith. Some guys can do it in 2 heats. I mean, but it's kind of a neat little trinket, so yeah. But some of the other projects, like a hammer, could take 4 or 5 hours. Yeah, so it just depends on how big of a project you're working on. Making stuff, just creating, it's the possibilities are limitless. It's only limited by your imagination. Favorite thing I ever made was a war memorial for a fallen soldier. Yeah, it was pretty fun. That was awesome. I'm all self-taught. I've had a few other blacksmiths that I've hung out with and learned a little bit from, but as far as the bladesmithing, I'm all self-taught. The history of blacksmithing is quite long. From the Iron Age, I mean, it's been around almost as long as man. I mean, it really has. It's a lot of it's lost. I mean, a lot of history is lost on blacksmithing. There was a point in time during the Industrial Revolution, right around in the United States, right around late 1800s, early 1900s, blacksmithing was almost totally lost. Yeah, so I mean, and now with the show of Forge of Fire and then those things, there's been a big resurgence. But in the 1950s or so, it was almost, I mean, completely almost dead. But we're bringing it back. Being on Forge of Fire was awesome. I had a really good time. It was intense. It was tough, but I wouldn't trade anything for the experience. It was awesome. We made, for the first challenge, we made just a blade of our own signature style. And then for the finals, which I was in, we had to make a tall war sword, which originated in India in the 1800s. It was a cavalry sword. Those three guys that I was with were probably closer than a lot of friends I went to high school with. To this day, we still text back and forth. We're constantly helping each other. We're calling each other up. Hey, how'd you do this? Or something like that. So I made three really good friends. Favorite part of the show. When I made my sword, and Dave Baker was testing it on sugarcane, and he chopped through it, and he turned around, and he was just giggling. It was awesome to see him laughing while he's chopping this sugarcane. How does it work? So you'll get a piece of metal, whatever it may be, mild steel, high carbon steel, whatever. And you'll go to, oh, my forge is all messed up, but we can use the gas forge. You turn the gas forge on, and that gets up to like 2,700 degrees or so. And you put your metal in there, and the metal will get red hot. You want it above 1,800 degrees, and then you just form and shape it with your hammer and using the different areas of the anvil. For anybody that's interested in getting into blacksmithing, don't expect to just come in and make something right away perfect. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of physical work. But keep at it. I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day, and you're not going to forge it, be an expert blacksmith in a day. It's a very in-depth trade. There is so much to learn, and I've been doing it for probably 13 years now, and I am by no means an expert. There's so much more to learn. It's just like a never-ending learning experience.